Hey, what's going on, guys? In today's video I want to talk about heist. So there are three things that I want to do in this video. First thing is I want to show you some changes that we actually got to heist this league that not that many people know about. Second thing is I want to show you the results of the test that I did, where I did run 40 blueprints. And the last thing is I want to compare four different types of blueprint based on the data that I got from that test. Okay, so first thing is changes to heist. So we actually got a new sextant, which is this one. Non-unique heist contracts found in areas have an additional implicit modifier. And what that basically means is you can get one of the four implicits on a contract that you draw from that zone. And the best way to just get these contracts is through use of this compass plus smuggler cache contract, compass, which means you're just gonna drop one contract with implicit. The second way is through Arc Nemesis and the temporal bubble. So if you are planning to run this recipe with, for example, trends, you're gonna get a ton of contracts from that zone. From what I've heard, people are getting between 10 and 30 contracts just from this recipe. So if you are gonna use that recipe, you can just pair it with this compass and all of the contracts are gonna have all of the implicits. Okay, so now let me show you all of the four implicits. So first one is heist chests have 100% chance to duplicate their content. So this is a pretty simple one. You're just gonna get double the loot from all of the chests, but monsters are gonna have 100% more life, which doesn't matter too much. This actually doesn't stack with the Vindiri. So heist just has 16% chance to duplicate their content. You're still gonna have just 100% chance, and you're not gonna have a chance to get double duplication. And I also believe it doesn't stack with the brooch, which gives 13% chance to duplicate basic currency. So if you're gonna run this, brooch and the Vindiri doesn't do anything. Second one is 200% more rogue marker value of primary heist target. So this is probably the worst out of all of them, but still 200% value of marker is actually pretty decent. Rogue equipment cannot be found is not that bad of a downside, because to be honest, when I run heist, I don't even pick up the rogue markers, rogue equipment. So what I want to show you here is I have somewhere here, I did run some of the contracts with this enchant and without, with this implicit and without it. And this one, this reward comes from just a normal contract, so it's 4,000 markers, and this one comes from the one with implicit, so almost 13,000 markers. So there is a big difference. 200% is actually quite a lot of extra markers. Okay, so third one is rogue perks are doubled. So this is actually very nice if you're gonna get it on either deception, perception, or counter contract, because you can run this with Gianna and you're gonna get 2 Gianna reveals, which is pretty nice. And 50% reduced time before lockdown also doesn't really do anything. And the last one is completing the heist generates 3 additional reveals. So this is very nice if you just want a lot of Wakano reveals. So this is not gonna be Gianna reveals, this is just gonna be as base Wakano ones. So it also gonna give you 1 base guaranteed one. So in total you're gonna get 4 reveals per contract. So that's pretty nice. Unfortunately, here the downside is actually pretty bad. Heists just have 25% chance to grant nothing, but it's nothing too bad. If you're gonna run this, you're gonna care mostly about reveals anyway. And there is a second change, which I believe happened because of this implicit, so rogue perks are doubled. And that change is that now Gianna reveals have 80% discount if you have the a +1 level to all jobs for heist equipment. So without it, that would be 70%. So usually in the past leaks, we would have only 35 to 40% chance. I mean, reduced cost of the reveals with Gianna, but now we have 80%. And again, I believe that happened because of this implicit. I am not sure if it's bugged or not, but it's been here since beginning of the league, and pretty much everyone has it. You don't even have to run these contracts. It's just something that everyone has. So I believe everyone can just run Gianna contracts with, or can use Gianna reveals with 80% reduced cost. Okay, so that's it when it comes to the changes. Now let me talk about the test. So what I did is I did run 10 of each blueprint of different types. So 10 of the gems, 10 with replicas, 10 with trinket, and 10 with our enchant and ornament. And I also chose only the ones that have 4 wings revealed. So these ones have 3 wings, and this one has 4. So again, all of them had 4 reveals. So I tried to make the test as fair as possible, but still it's not gonna be like 100% fair, because for example this one has 6 currency rooms and 4 divination, and this one has 8 divination and 4 currency, which is even better. But this one, for example, doesn't have any currency. It still has 7 divination, but it's not that great. And this one has only 2 divination and 2 currency, so this one would be the worst when it comes to rewards. So it's not gonna be 100% fair, and there's also quite a lot of RNG when it comes to the reward at the end of a blueprint. So take the results with a grain of salt, but again, I try to make it as fair as possible. So before I show you the example and how I was running the blueprints, first let me show you the equipment. So for the cloak, I was using on every single follower tier 1 reduce raising of alert level from opening chest, and some kind of increased job speed. So on every single one of them, again, tier 1 raising of alert and some kind of reduced job speed. For the brooch, tier 1 chance to duplicate basic currency, and again some kind of tier of job speed. For the main equipment, +1 level to all jobs, because this actually increases the heist perks. So for example, this one 30%, with this it's 35. Here that would be 55% time before lockdown, and without equipment it's only 50. So that's the main reason. And second reason is, thanks to this equipment, you also can run higher level of blueprints and contracts with this follower. So for example, now I would only be able to run contracts with level 2 requirement of perception, and now I can run level 3. And for the weapon, I actually did not equip them on most of my follower. I only did it for Gianna because I was running contracts with Gianna. So I got one with 20% increased job speed, but this one doesn't really matter too much. So for most of these equipments, I was paying between 50C and 1 exalt per. And for the trinket, I was using 1% chance in heist for chaos to drop as an exalt. And it also on top of that has a chance for the scours to drop as regrets, but that one doesn't matter. And this trinket costs right now between 80 and 100 exalts, and I paid for this one 95 exalts. So it is pretty expensive one, so because of that I did actually exclude some of the exalts from the test. But if you would want to run blueprints with some kind of trinket, I would just recommend getting literally anything, just some kind of alterations drop as chaos, maybe chaos drop as divine, or regals drop as the exalts. So all of them are pretty cheap options. It doesn't really matter too much what you get, just try to get something. And also there is one that gives chance to duplicate basic currency, just like the brooch. So you can also get that one. Okay, so that's it when it comes to the equipment. And so what I did is I ran 120 counter contracts to get the 120 reveals needed to reveal the wings. So again, each of the blueprint had 4 wings, which means one of them is revealed, and I had to reveal all 3 of them, 3 remaining ones. So I did this with Gianna, so I needed 120 to reveal all of the wings. And the reason why I went for counter, not the deception, there's actually 2 reasons. First reason is that deception is much more expensive. You are paying like 10 to 14 C per, and counter I was paying only 3 C per. But the second reason is that in counter you are actually getting currency chests, and you can't get currency chests in deception. And I was using this trinket, so I wanted to have a chance to get some extra exalts. So that's the main reason. If you are not using the trinket, you can go for either perception or deception, doesn't really matter. And also, by the way, if you would just run contracts for the trinket and you wouldn't really care about reveals, you probably would want to run the lockpicking, because lockpicking has the highest chance to get the currency chest. Okay, so now let me show you how I was revealing them. So again, 3 Gianna reveals. So 1, 2, 3. And by the way, with every single reveal, price of the reveals is increasing when it comes to the markers. And now for the rest of the small rooms, I would just use the Wakano. So I would only reveal the currency rooms, divination, harbinger, and maps, which I actually don't have here. And the reason why I was going for the maps is because you can drop sextants, which are considered currency, so you can duplicate with them with brooches, and also you actually can drop the guardian maps, which are pretty expensive. Okay, so again, I would go for this one, here for divination and currency, here another currency, and here 1 divination and 1 currency. And that's it. Just double check if I didn't skip anything. I didn't. Now I would go to planning room and confirm the plan. So the priority list for me would be number 1 is Vindiri. I would always choose Vindiri over anything else. Number 2 is Karst for reduce alert. And number 3 is Nenet for also reduce alert level, but it's a little bit less than the Karst. If you don't have any of these 3 to choose from, I would just go for something whatever. Maybe that's gonna happen in this one. Let's see. And I guess it didn't happen. But obviously things like let me find something. For example, Niles for 1 chest is also a decent option if you don't have anything else to choose from. Okay, so I would confirm it. And then I would also use alchemy on them, because if you are turning blueprints into rare ones, it's gonna also give you alert level reduction. And I was also checking the mods. For example, this one has crit, so I actually would change it. This one is actually not that great because it has less recovery. I also don't really like that mod. And this one is actually fine. Only 1 damage mod, everything else doesn't really matter. And I would especially avoid the -2 max res and -2 max res per alert level. And now I would just run them. So let me show you the example. I'm only gonna do 1 wing, I'm not gonna do all of them. And this is, I believe, the enchant room. So I will go to the first one. First, I would check how many chests there is that are good chests. So there's only 1 currency and 1 harbinger, which means I will have a lot of alert level left. So I will pick up a lot of the small chests. So here are 3. Now let's open the reward room. And 2 harbinger chests. Now another small one, and currency chests. Let's see if I'm gonna get any exalts from the trinket maybe. And look like I didn't. So now I still have a lot of alert levels, so I would just open whatever. So these small chests. But I wouldn't really like focus on the chest like 100%. I wouldn't, for example, go back to pick some of them if I skipped some of them and I still had some alert level left. So let's open these ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not really getting lucky with the loot from the small chests. And now let's look at the end reward. So when it comes to the end reward, I would in all of the blueprints, I would check the prices of the items and I would only pick up the things that are worth 10C and above. Because if it's less than 10C, it is better to just run back into the beginning and just skip picking anything, because it's just much faster. Because if you're gonna pick something, then there's gonna be a lockdown, you're gonna have to open extra doors and stuff. So I would just save myself some time. When it comes to the enchanted room, you are only searching for the tempering or tailoring orbs, and some of the items actually can be decent, but from what I look at the items right now, there is nothing too great in here, so again I would just leave. And also on your way back you can still open some of the small chests if there are some of them remaining and you don't really care about the alert level. And I still have 28 seconds. So I would just run out before the lockdown occurs. And I am out. And now I would just do all of the 2 remaining ones. And also you can, if you have a full inventory, you can just leave and then you can go back to finish the remaining wings. Okay, so that's it when it comes to how I was running them. Now let me show you the results. So here is the tab for the 10 trinket blueprints. So here's all of the like just the base loot that I got from all of the chests. Here are all of the good divination cards and chaos orbs, and I did sort them by 100 chaos orbs in one column, because that's basically the average amount of the chaoses you need to get 1 exalt. So from these 10s I actually got only 1 exalt, which is pretty average for the amount of chaos I got, but that also means I didn't get a single exalt just dropped randomly. And here are all of the rewards from the end of the blueprint. So you're gonna get trinkets, delirium orbs, winged scarabs, and just some random currency as the options from running the, again, the 5th trinket or currency blueprint. And when it comes to trinkets, I didn't really get anything too great. I think most of them are worth between 50C to maybe 2 exalts. It's kind of hard to price check them. Now let's look at the enchanted blueprints. So here I got definitely much more exalts and a lot more chaos orbs. So on average I did get these 2 exalts from the trinket and 3 exalts on top of that from random loot. Obviously we don't really know if these exalts also got transformed from the chaos, and I just assumed that 3 of them just dropped randomly and 2 from the chaos orbs because of the amount of chaos that I dropped. And here's all of the loot, and I got 1 tempering orb, which right now is worth 5.5 exalts. But when I did the calculations, it actually was worth, I believe, 4.8 exalts, so it is still going up. And I got 1 chest, which is actually a decent base. It's Assassin Garb, item level 86, and it has attribute modifiers have 8% effect. And there's only 1 of them on the trade listed for 10 exalts, but it has been listed for a few days, so I am actually not sure if it's worth that much. And I also got the wand, which has 1 level to all spells, tier 1, actually tier 3 lightning damage to spells, and tier 1 crit for spells, so it's actually a decent wand. I believe it's worth around 2 exalts. Okay, now let's move on to the gems. And when it comes to gems, I also got 2 exalts and similar amount of chaos orbs and 3 exalts on top of that. When it comes to the Enderworld loot, I got 2 lenses. Prime lens right now is 120C and secondary is 2 exalts. And when it comes to the gems, I got, with the best gem I got was Divergent Inspiration, which I believe right now is worth between 3 and 4 exalts. And I did get quite a lot of other gems that are worth between 10C and like 3 exalts. And I also got 2 helmets, which are worth, I believe, 50C each. I actually didn't even know you can get them from the gems blueprints, but I guess you can. And the last one is replicas. So I actually ended up not finding a single good replica. All of these are worth around 10C. The only decent ones are Conqueror's Efficiency, which are worth 40C. Everything else is 10C. And also similar amount of exalts, only 1 exalt less than in these 2. So only trinkets actually was pretty unlucky when it comes to the exalt drops. And I also got quite a lot of Guardian maps in this one. So that's pretty much it when it comes to blueprints. But again, I also had to run 120 contracts to get the reveals to run these blueprints, and here is the loot from these contracts. So I also got 2 exalts, and this is the amount of chaoses I would need to get them, and on top of that 3 extra exalts. And here are all of the markers that I got from these contracts and some extra rewards. So that's it when it comes to the stash. Now let me show you the spreadsheet and all of the calculations. So for the spendings, I was paying 50C for unusual gem blueprints, 20C for replica, 10 for trinket, and 5 for the enchant. And by the way, because of the price of gems, it is actually worth it to split them using the split beast, because they are around, right now around 35C, I believe. And when you are splitting the blueprints, you are not gonna get the revealed rooms copied. So you're still gonna have to reveal the copy, but just the base is already worth it to just save yourself like 15 chaos. And it's also faster to buy some beasts and just a low amount of gem blueprints. Okay, here is price of all of the contracts and all of the markers I did spend. So I did spend 700k markers for all of the blueprints. So in total I did spend 2.8k chaos. Here's the time I had to spend for each different type. So here I did spend 4 hours to run the contracts, 2 hours for replica, 2.1 hour for gems, which is the most amount of time when it comes to blueprints, and that's because I had to price check each one of the gems separately, and I was just doing that on the trade website, so it took a little bit extra time and less time for the enchants and trinkets because there wasn't really anything to price check. And for replicas I still was price checking a little bit, so but time difference is not that big of a deal. So in total I did spend 12 hours to do it. And here is the spending when it comes to markers, and as you can see here I did spend the most amount of money on the enchants and the least amount of money on trinkets, obviously except for the contracts. So that basically means that the rewards that I got from the rooms, I should expect to get the most of the rewards from the enchants and not that many rewards from the trinket. And as you can see here, that's definitely a case. I didn't really get that much exalts and chaos orbs from the normal rewards. And the best one was enchant, but I did get, well, I guess I did get the most amount of the base rewards. So in total again 700k. And the loot, so this is just the loot from the chest, it doesn't include the reward at the end, except for the contracts. I actually did put both rewards, so both of the markers and the loot in this category, so 1.6k. From replicas 2.5k, gems 1.4k for some reason. I guess pretty unlucky here, even though I did spend the same amount of markers, I didn't really get that much. From enchants, definitely a lot, and not that much from trinkets. From the rewards at the end of the blueprints, I only did get 177C from replicas, so definitely unlucky here. 2.3k from gems, so the price is definitely worth it. From the enchants, 600C, and trinkets also 600C. But I also did get again the chest and the wand from the enchants and few trinkets from the trinket rooms, which I actually decided to not include in the test because I'm not sure if I actually will be able to sell them, so I did put them separately here. Just so you know that I did get these items, but again I did not include them in the test, so technically it should be a little bit more money from these two blueprints. And here is the cost of each of them separately. So the cheapest one was trinket because I didn't have to spend that much money on markers. Okay, so now let's look at the result. So loot 9.6k, rewards 3.7k, in total 13,000 chaos. Cost was again 2.8k, so minus the cost, that was 10,600C, which is in exalt 81 exalts. So per hour I did make 7x per hour, and this actually does also include the contracts and the time I had to spend to run them. When we look at just contracts, I did make 9 exalts and it took me 4 hours to run them, which means I was making 2.3x per hour, which is obviously not too much, but you have to do that to get the reveals to run the blueprints. From replicas, 8x per hour, gems almost 11x per hour, enchants 10x per hour, and trinkets 7.5x per hour. But this time does not include the time you need to also run the contracts to get the reveals. And here I did include that time and also 1/4, because again it's only 1/4 of the time for the contracts per type of blueprint, so I also did include 1/4 of the loot that I got from it. So counting the, I guess, 30 contracts per type of blueprint, that would be 6.2x, 8, 7.4 and 5.7. So definitely the best one is gems, even though you spend 50C per one, and it takes a little bit more time because you have to price check them. It's still definitely worth it to run the gems, simply because of the reward at the end. Replicas, it doesn't look too great, but again I was unlucky, I didn't get anything. So if you are feeling like gambling, you can go for replicas, but this league I would say replicas are not that great because there is not that many expensive replicas this league. The enchants are actually pretty decent, but I think the reason why I got so much money is simply because I just got the most of the good reward rooms in the enchants, and as you can see here I did spend a lot of markers revealing these rooms, which basically means I got a lot of good ones in here, so that's probably because of it. And also I did drop 1 tempering orb, which I guess should be considered a lucky drop. And when it comes to trinket, I didn't get too much, but this was also the unluckiest one. So I would say enchants and trinkets are gonna just give you very good, decent, consistent profit. Gems is probably gonna be just straight up the best, and replicas is just a gamble. Obviously, again, this is not like very good, consistent, I would say, profit you should expect to get from them. If you would run like 100, then obviously the numbers would be different. I would probably get something really nice from the replicas, and maybe I would get some really nice trinket from the trinket room. So it's not like 100% fair comparison. And one thing we can definitely take from this, it's definitely worth to run the gems blueprints, even though they are the most expensive one. So that's gonna be it in this video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.